Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our 3 News Now early update. I am Ben Axelrod, stepping in for Stephanie Haney this week, and we will have you covered with all the latest coronavirus numbers, all the headlines from across the world, as well as right here in Northeast Ohio. And let's get started with today's coronavirus numbers. On Tuesday, we had in Ohio 42,010 confirmed cases to date. That marks 434 new cases from the day prior. Confirmed and probable a number of deaths right now, we have 2,597 to date. That marks 24 newly reported deaths from the day prior. Number of hospitalizations, we are up to 7,007. That's 59 new hospitalizations from the day prior. And number of ICU admissions, we now have 1,784. That is 8 new ICU admissions as of Tuesday, an increase from Monday. Speaking of coronavirus, Ohio Governor Mike Dewine says that some businesses may need to reclose if there is a second wave of COVID-19 in the state. As some states across the country are experiencing a surge in COVID-19 infections, the speed of the reopening process is now being called into question. So what would happen if Ohio sees an increase in new coronavirus cases? Ohio Governor Mike Dewine was asked if he would pause the reopening process or reinstate some closures at his press conference on Tuesday. Dewine said, We are certainly looking at that, but we hope not to face that choice. But we have to always prepare for the worst, and so we are looking at that. Not really ready to share that yet because we haven't quite worked it out. I think a lot of this is going to come down to trying to get information to Ohioans that is local information. Dewine said the state's strategy is to focus on data at the local level and concentrate on potential problem spots. The governor also said that the goal is to keep everything going in the current direction. He said the key to success is making sure Ohioans follow safety measures like wearing a mask, keeping safe distances, and proper hand washing. We hope we don't have to close anything, but what we clearly owe to the people of the state of Ohio, what I owe to the people of the state of Ohio is giving them the best information we can. So if you are in a county and there are things going on in the county where this COVID is spiking, you know that all the data connected with that, and you know if that is something that you should take very, very seriously and take action. Another thing that Governor Mike Dewine talked about at his press conference on Tuesday is the Hall of Fame game in Canton, which is scheduled for August 6th between the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dewine was asked about the possibility of having fans at the game earlier last week. The vice president of communications for the Hall of Fame said that he was optimistic that fans would be able to attend and that they could kind of use it as a way to gauge measures for the NFL season, the 2020 NFL season. The Hall of Fame game is the first preseason game of the preseason schedule for the NFL. But while the Hall of Fame was hopeful that they'll have fans, Dewine painted a less promising portrait. Asked about it, he said, as much as I hate to say this because we've all been looking forward to that, and I know how much it means to the Canton area and Stark County area, and really across the country, it's a great event that we've been looking forward to, but having a crowd size that size is highly unlikely. Dewine went on to say, again, we have to see where we are at that point, but that's a large crowd, a lot of people. These are things that we've talked about all the way through this as we reopen Ohio up and we get back to work and we get back to doing the things that we like. Probably the last things that are going to be able to open are the big crowds, particularly when you have big crowds that are so close together. So we have to continue to look at it and make decisions as we move forward. But if the question was, could that event occur today, or could that even occur today, the answer would be no. Well, plenty could change between now and August or later this year. Dewine has been consistent in saying that such mass gatherings would likely be the last to return to Ohio amid the coronavirus, as opposed to professional golf tournaments like the Memorial, which will be allowed to have fans in Dublin, Ohio next month. Sitting in the type of large crowd required at football games could amplify the spread of the coronavirus. Moving on more locally here in Northeast Ohio, the Press Club held an event on Tuesday night moderated by 3 News anchor and executive editor Russ Mitchell with Mayor Frank Jackson, where he touched on a number of topics, including his political future. Although he wouldn't say anything definitive, Mayor Jackson did not rule out running for a 5th term next year. Jackson also said the city would know by the end of the month whether they would have to make budget cuts due to the revenue losses brought on by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. While COVID-19 has dominated much of the year so far, recent weeks have also brought protests against police brutality following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Most local demonstrations have been peaceful, but the downtown gathering on May 30th infamously turned violent, with officers deploying tear gas and several businesses being smashed and looted. When asked about that day, Mayor Jackson stood by his actions. "I wouldn't do anything differently," the mayor told Mitchell. "I'd do exactly what I did. I'd go down to the command center. And I would do my proper role to provide support for law enforcement, as we did in the aftermath of what was happening that Saturday night." As for the critics, including some business owners who feel he let them down that day, Jackson said that they have a right to their opinion, but again would not change what he did. And then lastly, a story that's taking national headlines here on Wednesday morning. Aunt Jemima is going to rename and change its packaging after the historic context behind the maple syrup brand went viral. Quaker Oats made the announcement on Wednesday with plans to replace the 130-year-old brand, which features a black woman named Aunt Jemima. She was originally dressed as a minstrel character. The company's website said the logo started in 1890 and was based on Nancy Green, a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. "We recognize Aunt Jemima's origins are based on a racial stereotype," Kristen Crofell, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of Quaker Foods North America, said in a press release. "As we work to make progress toward racial equality through several initiatives, we also must take a hard look at our portfolio of brands and ensure they reflect our values and meet our consumers' expectations." The company said it plans to remove the image and name of the breakfast items to make progress toward racial equality. The Aunt Jemima brand was purchased by Quaker Oats in 1926. PepsiCo bought Quaker Oats in 2001. Pepsi hasn't yet revealed a new logo or brand name for the breakfast items, but it should be released in the fall. PepsiCo also announced that the brand Aunt Jemima will donate a minimum of $5 million over the next 5 years and create meaningful ongoing support and engagement in the Black community. Thank you for joining us for our early update. Digital producer Kiara Cotton will be on our afternoon update at 2 p.m., giving you all the latest COVID-19 numbers from the Ohio Department of Health and all the newest stories to keep you informed. Thanks for watching.